Good evening. Welcome to the City Council joint session with Manassas City Public Schools. Mr. Smith, will you please call the roll for council?
Mayor Davis Younger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Wolf.
Yo.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Osina.
Here.
Councilmember Vasquez Luna. Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do the roll call for them first and then do the return. Okay.
And the school board meeting is also called to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Seaborn.
Here.
Vice Chair Spall. Present. Mrs. Stevens.
Present.
Mrs. Garcia.
Present.
Ms. Miles.
Present.
Ms. Miles.
Here.
Dr. Jones.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start our meeting off with item number 1 is approval of participation in the city council meeting by remote electronic communication with Councilmember Vasquez Luna, who is joining us by phone. Mr. Osina has that motion.
Yes, I move the approval of the participation in the city council meeting by remote electronic communication by Councilmember Sonia Vasquez Luna.
second.
We have the motion. We have the motion by Councilman Osina and was seconded by, Teresa? Seconded by Councilwoman Ellis. Any discussions? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Smith, please call the roll.
Councilmember Osina.
Here, yes, here, yes, whatever.
Councilmember Ellis.
Yes. Here.
Vice Mayor Wolf.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith. Yes. Councilmember Hudson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Ms. Luna, can you hear us okay? You there?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Seaborn.
We have a motion from the school board to approve the agenda.
Chair, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the public meeting agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion by Mrs. Stevens, second by Mrs. Breja, that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the public meeting agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is, well, the second item is for discussion items. Item 2.1 is the Manassas Industrial School Cottage relocation and Manassas Regional High School vocational building updates. And I have been told by filling in city manager, Mr. King, that we're working on the temperature in the facility here. So it's a little warm, but they are working on it. It is remotely that they have to do it, so. And Mr. Arcieri, what were you pointing at? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get them to get the presentation up, Your Honor.
Oh, presentation for
There we go.
Mr. Arcieri. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of council, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the school board. I'm here this evening with my Parks and Rec team and my Historic Preservation team to give the joint body an update on two very, very exciting projects at our Manassas Industrial School historic site, which is directly adjacent old and new Jenny Dean Elementary School. We're going to take you through, this is a two-part presentation. Some of it's tied to our discovery of the cottage, which we'll cover first. The second piece of the project is going to talk about some of our findings in the existing old Jenny Dean Elementary School regarding a specific piece of the building that we have made some really exciting discoveries as we've explored the evolution of that building. Ben Walker, our historic preservation planner for the city, is going to take you through that in the second part of the presentation. So first, an update on the MIS cottage. So for those of you who don't know, this is an original building from the Manassas Industrial School, constructed in 1914. About a year ago, maybe a little more than a year at this point, it was brought to our attention by residents and then to the mayor that this structure actually existed. Up to this point, we didn't know that there were any intact structures at the Manassas Industrial School. So we discovered through a lot of research that in 1959 approximately, the cottage was actually relocated to its current location on Jefferson Street to make way for additions to the Jenny Dean School that we know today. That was lost to history for a while, but we have discovered, and in 2025, the property is actually owned by Dominion. We're working with the mayor. We were actually able to secure a donation of the cottage. The cottage is now in the city of Manassas' possession. We don't own the land underneath, but we own the building as of today. We have stabilized the structure, basically keeping it intact with plans to relocate it. Just a little bit of historical context. This is it in its original form. Top left as it appeared in 1915, and you can see the evolution of the structure. But we have some pretty decent records of what it looked like on the outside. Even more exciting, this is really hard to believe, but first, As we have done the research on the history of this structure, we discovered at the Virginia Tech Libraries a treasure trove of documentation on the whole MIS site, which included a 1948 site plan, and we've highlighted out here. So to orient you, this would be where existing Jenny Dean Elementary School is. This is the outline of the Carnegie Building, the existing memorial site. We'll get to that in the next half of the presentation. The service road running along the building is here, and that is the actual location of the cottage. We've also done archaeology out there. We have found remnants of the existing foundation. So we've been able to piece all of this information together to come up with a location, a site plan to move it, and we worked with Dr. Newman. Dr. Newman shared some of this with the school board. The land is under school board property, so we wanted to identify a location. We toyed around with a number of sites, but with the discovery from Virginia Tech, we were actually able to come up with a site plan that very closely approximates the location of where the cottage would have been. It would have been a little further over, quite honestly, but there's a large water line, existing water line running between that, and that's a enormous cost to relocate. So we can get it at the exact same setback from the Carnegie Building, and then we can get it approximately where it was once we move it back to the site. So this has been a really incredible discovery, and we've been able to get the site plan preliminarily to this point in terms of where it would go on the property. And that's where we are today. So just to give you a little bit of a timeline, what the staff is thinking about relocation of the cottage, new Jenny Dean School opens up. Staff would proceed at that point. We don't want to move the cottage back while there's other decisions to be made at the Jenny Dean site, primarily if there's demolition of parts of the school or the entire school. We don't want to have the cottage on the property at that point. So our plan would be in 2027 to work on building the foundation and relocating the cottage. Jenny Dean MIS is founded in the fall of whatever year, Mary Helen will
Chartered in 73.
The fall of 73, so we would be able to bring it back approximately around the time, the plan is at least when it was chartered, and move the cottage back to approximately to its original location. If anyone's been to Colonial Williamsburg and seen the Brea house that's been recently relocated, once we relocated back to the property, we would work on restoration, remove the modern finishes, remove some of the windows that are added. The second floor dormer windows, as an example, are not original to the structure. We would restore it to its existing exterior finish, and then work on what we would do with the inside of the property, which is more TBD, depending on funding from City Council and a lot of fundraising, which Keisha will be spearheading over the next 2 years. I'm going to pause there for a moment and see if there's any questions on the cottage piece of the property. Again, this is information. We do have a little bit of time, but again, we've really had some amazing discoveries at the site, and we look forward to moving this cottage forward and down the street.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Ms. Ellen?
What was the use of the space? I know the students built it, but what was the use?
It's unclear exactly what the specific uses were. Some of the sources indicate that it was used as like a model cottage first for them as a construction project to practice the building trades, and then there's evidence that it was used as a home economics building for a bit. So the use has changed over time.
Ms. Bradshaw?
So you mentioned the interior of the building. So I know you say that there's not really a solid plan for that, but it does have me thinking. Unlike the other Jenny Dean Memorial, where it's an open space and you just walk through, like, do we need to be prepared to have a museum open on our property? Like, where are you guys think you're going with that?
So the city already operates it's on the MIS portion of the property. It's already operated by the city. Quite honestly, when it comes to the interior, if you go inside right now, it's a completely modern home. We can't remove any of the interior finishes because we need to move the cottage. We've been advised once you start taking sheetrock off the walls, it's going to make it that much harder to move the structure. So our expectation is we need to get it to its new home, the original home, and then we would have to do a lot of interior exploration. We expect it will yield a lot of its secrets as to the layout. We don't have floor plans of what it looked like inside. So we're going to have to do some exploration as we remove the modern finishes to see what it'll look like. I mean, can it be a teaching classroom, something that we can operate through the museum system and even make accessible for use with the school? Absolutely. But we're not down to use of this site yet. It would certainly be available for that at this point. And obviously museum interpretation.
Okay. Can you clarify where the cottage would be, like on the original and the new location?
Yep.
Is it where the little parking area
Right, so so the existing parking lot that serves the memorial site would be removed in this scenario.
Okay,
And then the cottage would be approximately, approximately in line where it would. So the existing access road, the secondary access to the school would remain and getting out to, so we didn't want to, and we talked with Dr. Newman, and I think he consulted with some of the school board members, we didn't want to remove that additional circulation on the site at this point. So we designed around that, but with the discovery of the plans, it's actually very close to where it was.
thank you.
Mayor, for clarification, some of the internal discussions we've had for the use is to use that as your showcasing to tell the story of the school. So you put some of the historical facts, use it as a classroom when they want to put that on. But that's some of the just internal conversation that we've had.
Mr. Ossini.
First of all, Helen, do we have artifacts?
We do from the archaeology. They did find some pretty cool stuff. Bits and pieces, obviously, as it's archaeology. We have some other things that were used in African-American schools in and around the city of Manassas, not necessarily this school, but typical of what you would have seen at the time, that if we were to use those, we would be transparent about this came out of such and such school, that kind of thing. So we do have some things, yes, and lots of pictures that we can use for big graphics on the wall. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
And Matt, has parking been contemplated, since this would be going on the existing parking lot, so to speak, here?
The existing, this is the existing parking lot serving Old Jenny Dean Elementary
Yes,
School.
I meant for the historic site.
To be served by the parking lot for the existing parking lot is ample parking to serve.
So no new
parking at this time.
You would be
Right.
proposing no addition?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, and lastly, do we know why, and do we have any written information or pictures of the home ec building being moved off-site?
No, we don't
Do we
have
know
pictures.
why, or?
It was moved to make way for, and that actually, the second part of the presentation is a good lead, and you can see why it was moved in a moment.
I'll get to that. Okay, didn't mean to jump ahead.
Ms. Brescia?
I just want to ask, from our end, is there sufficient parking at Jenny Dean Elementary School when the new school parking lot goes in and all that stuff, and assuming the old school comes down to still serve the dual purpose of servicing the site and the school?
I know we have enough parking for the school. This lot was not included in your parking calculations for new Jenny Dean Elementary School, so it can serve this site, any other uses of the site, but it's not in your parking tab for new Jenny Dean. There's a lot of parking in the entire complex, especially when you get to the back side of Dean Park. Yes.
Down by the Boys and Girls.
Yeah, but you would have
Yeah.
to take a path to go there. It's not like.
Remember, the new Jenny Dean Elementary School is designed to stand on its own in terms of parking. So that's a separate set of parking lots that is serving new Jenny Dean. This is serving the existing building, but it was not included in the calculations for new Jenny Dean Elementary School. So it's available for use.
Is the idea, I don't know if there is one.
Mrs. Brescia?
Is it the idea that the site is going to be accessible during school hours when Jenny Dean's parking lot isn't used? Like, is that the idea?
It's already accessible during school hours. The Jenny Dean in this scenario old Jenny Dean's not in existence at this point, or portion thereof when we get to the next piece of the presentation. But again, this lot is designed to serve the old building. And I know the boards have had some conversations about the dispensation of that building, but it's not used for the new building.
Those extra parts.
Yeah, I just would caution everyone that this is informational, and let's not jump to solutions, because we don't have the first part. I think this needs to percolate, and frankly, both bodies and your staffs need to think about this and come together, and don't be jumping in and making assumptions as to this, that, or the other thing, because blank slate right now.
Ms. Vasquez Logan, do you have any questions about this?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. No, nothing else. Moving on to the next part.
So, Madam Mayor, Madam Chair, as we went through the process of the use permit for the new Jenny Dean Elementary School, we made a pretty interesting discovery as we looked at literally the aerial picture of the site, that when you compared it to the vocational school, and Ben's gonna take you through a little bit of the history that I can, when you looked at this school that comes between MIS and when we started adding on to the building, again, to Councilmember Rosina's question, it was moved to get out of the way of some of these wings, we believe. We made a pretty interesting discovery when you looked at the school that comes between MIS and when we started expanding, that it appeared the exact footprint of one of the original buildings of the vocational school was intact. And so we wanted to bring you back to an aerial that highlights the portion of the building we're coming from. Included in the use permit language is a requirement that the city study and determine the significance, the integrity of this piece of the building. And so we've commissioned what's called a limited scope historic structures report, brought in an outside firm to go through the building from top to bottom, this portion of the building, and we're going to give you the results of that in a moment. But again, that's the original location of the cottage, that's the memorial site, and that's the portion we're talking about now. The portion in yellow is the portion that was studied because we believed, and we were proven correct, that it is in fact the original vocational building built in circa 1948. Ben, you want to take a little through the history?
Yeah, I can do that. So my name is Benjamin Walker. I'm the historic preservation planner under Matt in the Community Development Department. I'm just going to give you guys some background on the history of the building. The Manassas Industrial School was originally founded and dedicated in 1894, remained that way through about 1930, the 1930s, and when the Prince William County Public School Board took over, they voted to establish a regional school there, and in 1937, by that time it was a regional school for Prince William County and several of the other surrounding counties in Northern Virginia who were busing their African American students to this school complex that was formerly the Manassas Industrial School. And in 1949, they opened a vocational building as part of the campus. That funding, I think, was set aside originally in like 1946. Construction started in 1948, and then the building was completed by 1949. So they had several large shop buildings there that had different trades that were taught at the school. It continued to operate through the 1950s. The school was actually instrumental and part of a case that preceded Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. There was a case that was dealt with Arlington County where they referred to the vocational school here, trying to argue the separate but equal doctrine. So it was kind of like a preliminary case leading into Brown v. Board. In 1959, an addition to the vocational building was completed, and it was rechristened as the Jenny Dean High School and Elementary School at that time. That's when the cottage was moved to make way for the addition to this facility. Even after the Brown v. Board of Education ruling, Prince William County didn't completely desegregate all of their facilities until 1966. So we do have some historic photographs of the school vocational building once it was completed. These are all kind of taken from a similar vantage point, so they're all kind of looking toward the southwest, toward the vocational building. And in this photograph on the right, you can actually see it's a little bit blurry, but this is actually the end of the cottage building looking toward the vocational building. And then again, once that addition was put on the facility in 1959, that cottage was moved. When the addition was completed, it was no longer the Manassas Regional School. They stopped doing vocational teaching there. They made some interior alterations to make it more of a traditional classroom setting in those larger shop spaces, and made some additional changes to convert it for that more traditional elementary and high school use. So we also have the architectural plans that were located at the Virginia Tech Archives and Special Collections. These are some of the elevations of the vocational building that were prepared by the architectural firm of Smithy & Boynton, which was an architectural firm that was based out of Roanoke, Virginia. Also have the original floor plan. A little difficult to see, but there were 3 large shop room facilities, which were later, after the 1958 to 59 alterations and expansion of the building, those were subdivided with interior partitions into smaller, more traditional classroom spaces. So we did hire a firm to prepare a limited scope HSR. Limited scope means there's just a little bit, it's not as in-depth in terms of the research, and they do a more limited scope on that part of the report. Their findings were that the building has a period of significance from 1948 when it was originally constructed, spanning through its use as a vocational building until 1959 when that vocational use stopped and the addition was put on the building and it was converted into the elementary and high school facility. They determined that it did have, because of the alterations with the addition and the installation of the interior partitions and other changes like removal of the windows, that it has diminished material integrity. But in their analysis, they do talk about the significance of the structure, how it's significant under criterion A of the National Register of Historic Places for the themes of education and industry and social and ethnic history, and as well as under criterion C for architecture. It is important to note that while they did determine that it has diminished in material integrity, integrity is not condition of the building. The building has been relatively well maintained over the years. It's not in a deteriorated condition or anything like that. A property doesn't need to fully retain all aspects of integrity in order to be listed or eligible for the National Register. So that's something that's important to keep in mind. And so kind of next steps. Do you want to
Right. So again, as I think Council, as Vice Mayor Wolf mentioned, we're in the information stage. Your options are, and when you even read the consultant study and internal staff deliberations, there's arguments in both ways to where you go with this structure, but it certainly does have, as Ben meant, the bones, yes, the windows have been altered, the interior alterations, but it does have some significance and could be preserved and reused. That would go back to the school board as to the determination on the use. This is not, unlike the cottage, the city doesn't own this piece of it, and this is on school board property. So the next step for staff would be a deliberation really on the school board side to identify if there's a use. It will be an extensive, to restore it to its exterior appearance, that it's going to be a significant expenditure. It's not one of these things that's going to, you can just, take down the walls and move forward. To do a true historic restoration, to be true to the 1948 appearance, there's going to be some cost to that as well. So, and we have not done any of that estimation. We, as a staff, we wanted to stop here and leave it to the two bodies to continue their discussions. Your Honor, with that, we have any questions on this piece, and then we'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the school board?
Just an observation, at the second bullet, and I'm saying this because the Manassas school system has quite a distinct significance during that period you're talking about, and you could rightfully say that the period of significance is 1948 to 1966, because that's when the schools were integrated. The whole thing behind the Brown versus Board was the insufficient, inadequate, and very poor education that the African American children were getting. The significance of this building is that these kids were being taught vocational trades, which was very significant to their future, their livelihood, because if they had been in the school before Brown, they would not have gotten any of that. I'm just re-emphasizing how, first of all, this area was so far ahead of the rest of the state and moving forward. Just as an aside, 1959 was when my health started. My jurisdiction decided to shut them all down. So I can fully appreciate the significance that they played between 59 and 66 when they integrated, because they filled the gap of what a significant amount of the population was not getting. And kudos to everybody who's pushing this project. I lean more towards it being a museum, but I could support almost anything you do for it.
I appreciate the time that you took to do this as well. Thank you.
Ms. Hudson?
Who made the call to Virginia Tech? How did we find this?
Mary?
I made the call to Virginia Tech. First, I called the Library of Virginia because that's where a lot of school, Susan Gray, who was of the SWSG, told me that a lot of school architects' plans are held at the Library of Virginia. I called there. They did not hold these because it was a Roanoke firm that gave the body of their work to Blacksburg. And so they told me that, and then we were able to reach out to them and have them pull everything from their offsite facility and scan it. So there's just some calls.
We have it in the entire electronic archive is now in the museum's collection.
Very cool. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Mrs. Brescia?
Question about the resolution that was passed by council, and I'm sitting next to the author, so I can just turn and ask him. I do recall that there was something in there that required the demolition of the building, but also requested or required our participation in this archaeological process. Is there how do those, I do not recall how those two clauses interact. Is there a fresh resolution needed so that we do not need to demolish this according to the term, black and white letter?
The special use permit contemplated that if the body's determined that this is of historical significance, it can be preserved and used and, interpreted or used in other fashions. It's kind of separated in a way from the overall discussion of demolition of the entire building. This piece, council included special language essentially because we only knew from looking from aerials that it looked like there was something there, so we had to do the study, which is what the use permit contemplated. At that point, it's a discussion between the two bodies.
Mrs. Stevens?
I, for one, think it's exciting news, and it's exciting news for the city of Manassas. And I really appreciate Councilmember Smith down on the other end of the table and what he pointed out. And I think that actually raises the value and importance of the original vocational building, because it speaks to a period in time that our children today are unaware of. And if we want to teach them to be stewards of the community and stewards for the city of Manassas, they need to know all of its history. And this is an important piece of Manassas history. And having lived here for 30 years, there's no real vestiges of the vocational school other than the outline and the few artifacts that are available. But to have this and to have it on a school property where children could learn our history up close and personally and walk through it is something most children don't ever have the opportunity to experience. So I, for one, think this is exciting. And I think it really has the potential to make an educational impact on our students, because they learn the history of where they live and that there were people here before them. So thank you.
I'll round it out. Thank you for all the hard work you've done on that. And piggybacking off of Ms. Stevens, it is for me very personal because my mother went there, and she's not alive now to see it, and all of this happening. But it's to be mayor at this time, to be able to witness this and hear her talk about the history of the Manassas Industrial School, which we dropped for the colored, because that's what it was. And that we don't say that now, but that's what it was. And all the kids that came from all around to the school and the relationships that were formed. And a lot of people don't know the history, and it's so fulfilling for me to sit as mayor, to be able to see this happen and to be able to preserve our history like this in the city. It's amazing, and I just appreciate all the hard work that you all have put into it, because writing the letter to Dominion and begging, my mama went there, please give us some money, I don't mind doing those things because of the impact it's going to have years beyond now, after we're all dead and gone. I mean, this is going to be amazing for us, so it is really exciting, and for me, just more of a personal thing, because my mom went there, and it was just, like, I wouldn't be here, she learned a trade, and she was able to work on Grand Avenue and scrub the floors of the kitchens and the people that lived on Grand Avenue, having learned that trade. So it just comes full circle. So I just had to throw that in and to say thank you for the hard work. And Mary Helen, you rock all the time. All y'all rock, but I know she really rocks. She gets with the rocks. So I really appreciate all the effort and the discussions that will come, and we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll make it work, but for me, it is about that history being here beyond us, and that the kids realize how fortunate they are to have something like this in the city, and that we can all leave that legacy there. So thank you for that. Anyone else? Ms. Luna, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would just like to ditto to what you said, and I think it's really important that we preserve history. I came into Manassas after the buildings, the industrial school had been torn down, and I often ask people, how did they get torn down? But they are, but now you have something that you can preserve, so I think it's something that definitely needs to be done.
Nothing else, Ms. Luna, you good?
I know, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to say, it is not only, important for Manassas. I mean, as a country, we should cherish and, everybody should be able to, support this. I support that we, do as much work that we can to put it, where the place, what it was. And I do believe, that we all not only gonna enjoy it, but we'll be able to, walk and see and show our children and their children, our history. And, we're gonna continue to live our, our motto, which is, historic, hard, modern, big. And, I believe this is continue to show, the governing body, way to, support it, just like, we did in, Annenberg and other places, but this is closer to home. It hits home, and, I'm not thankful for all the work. I do believe that, our staff has so much to do, but I'm thankful for that, and, I can, wait to continue to see, these until, the kids are able to, visit and we are able to visit. Thank you everyone for the support, and I can't wait for us to, see it in the right place, and, all of this hard work is going to, pay off. So,
Thank you. All right, good, is that it? Okay, thank you so much. All right, next on the agenda is item 2.2, graduation ceremony and participation.
That's from you guys.
Oh, that's right, okay, so we had, there were discussions from, I believe Ms. Vasquez Luna had brought something forward, to present to us about this. Did you want to go ahead and go into that, Ms. Luna?
Sometimes I think here because papers are flipping, and I know you are a little bit far, so it's hard. I know you asked me for something, but I have no idea.
No, we moved forward. Okay, we moved to item 2.2 on the agenda, the graduation ceremony participation. This was brought up by you, so I was asking you to go ahead and elaborate on that, what you were looking for.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so my ask is, why, and, I know everybody has a different, opinion or feelings or requests. I continue to, bring up a couple of the things that, let me go back. I believe that as a governing body or as a council member, we all have, different priorities, and for me, the schools is one of the priorities. Not only, allocating the money, but supporting in any way that I can. And, I know that every council member might feel, differently, or at different times, who's, sitting there, they may, feel differently, but I just feel like, if the council members and the school board members, want to participate, I don't see why they're not able to join the procession. So my ask is why it's not like that, and, if it's like that in every location.
And I guess for me, I just need clarification on, participation, like what exactly are you looking for specifically when you say participation?
I said the procession, I think it's called.
Walking in, okay, the processional,
Yes.
okay. And that's it, just walking in as a group, as everybody walks up on the stage, or just walking in and then going to the side where they normally sit, or sitting on stage, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I believe that everybody is elected, and I don't know why, some go to the side, and, I understand that if you're speaking, but I'm asking, what I believe for those localities. I don't know if I'm wrong, I haven't been able to make calls to other localities, but I believe other localities do it differently, and my ask is why are we not able to do it, like that?
I don't know, there's no rule that says you can or can't that I know of, I just think it's always just been that way, but
Historically, it's always been the mayor and the chair, whoever those people are,
Mhm.
that, greet everyone and, sit on stage. But I would ask, if this is a request, is this a request of the whole council? Have you guys
I have not
made this
heard.
decision?
Councilman Vasquez was the only person that I heard.
Okay. I mean, I would ask that you guys
Interested in-
discuss it and decide what you want, what your request is, and then we can consider the request. Ms. Brown?
Yeah, I do think it's a very good idea, and other localities do the same. They, city council and anyone else that's in government gets an opportunity to do the procession along with the school board. And then, of course, not only the main graduation, but also, the summer graduation and any other celebration is always, a priority to invite the entire governing body, of course. Time is, premium, so, but I think it would be a good idea to prioritize the invites to all graduations and.
Yeah, we definitely send out invitations to everyone, all electeds and all local and state. Ms. Miles?
I know it was quite awkward to sit where we were sitting for graduation, even as school board members. So I know we had talked about even, school board members being able to sit on the stage, even if we're not shaking hands, because it's just hard to see the whole, we're like on the side, and I don't know if that's also an ask for school board members as well, not just the council members.
Ms. Brown?
I'm not sure what the rest of the body, how they feel about it. However, I think it's really important to have that visual, not only for the students, but for the families, because this governing body is the one that supports all of the schools. And, our decisions are the primary reason as to why we haven't that whole body of, graduates in front of us. So I think it's just really, a good visual to have and a good kind of like graduation closure for us to see, children, in all, I don't know, however, if you have served for 4 years or 8 years or even longer, some of you, can see, the progression of students that have come before you. And it's just a great opportunity, to grant any government body. And like I say, other localities already do this, including supervisors and not just mayors, but supervisors.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss this independently. You guys let us know what your request is and we'll discuss it as a school board. But I've sat in those seats, those side seats many times, and I've always thought it was a wonderful view.
I do have one question.
Yes,
It may help when we as a body deliberate. I don't understand that you're under some pretty tight time frames, but so logistically, I mean, if, for example, you stayed at George Mason, you'd have to still vacate the premises and so forth.
Yes.
So I would be concerned about anything that would extend the length of the program. And physical logistics of where they're gonna sit after we march, those kind of, I just wanna confirm that you do have some time constraints.
We do.
Any other comments, questions? Ms. Luna, do you have anything else to add to this? I think we just, go ahead. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you, Madam Mayor. Yes, and when I refer to that, I refer, to the elected officials. And, of course, it can be an option, and if anybody, enjoys being on the side and not be able to take pictures or see well, I think it's everybody's, personal, decision. And, I think being this a joint meeting, I can tell you, I'm not happy that we didn't have the opportunity. I know that summer, graduations, they work really hard, and even though sometimes they cannot make it, but, just being able to have that opportunity to go, okay. If we didn't know ahead of time, like we know now, I mean, like, you can always, rent it overnight. I mean, I know that summer might be a little bit more challenging to pick a date, but I just, that, and, you know, if I may, I just add, the other events, we get invited to events, they're on council meeting, and, we came and, make them, and I'm not trying to say to change it, but I'm just saying, this is a partnership, we work together, we all elected by the residents, and we all trying to answer to the residents, and the schools are a big priority, and, we shouldn't just be out for more money and for allocation, so we should also be seen as a partner and be able to also, do big things, so, for you might not be that important, for me it is important. I will leave it at that, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Very good. Thanks. I know we'll be talking about that among ourselves here, so, just two observations. One is, I would, having gone to this now for 5 years, graduation for 5 years, has been on the side here, and I actually get to see the students come across. I think I have probably one of the best views of the students actually graduating, as opposed to if I were on the second or third or fourth row on the dais, it would be a little more difficult to see. I'd see the back of people and see the podium and stuff like that. So, along the way here. And secondly, I want us to remember that graduation is about the students. I'll just leave it at that.
Great.
Ms. Brown.
Oh, Ms. Brown.
Yeah, graduation is about the students, thank you for elevating that, and the students deserve to see their leaders represented. As the only Hispanic educator, I think they have a right to see that there is leadership that looks like them. And as Ms. Sonia Vasquez Lunas being the first Latina on city council, I think the students have earned a right to see her on the dais as well. So it is about representation, and it matters. We do have over 70% of Hispanic students that we support. So I think it's only fair to make sure that they understand that they have leaders that look like them.
Madam Mayor, I wouldn't disagree with that. All I will again emphasize, this is about the students. And if we want to do that, students should be seeing members of the LGBTQ community as well. And I think they see me very well from where I sit here.
Mrs. Fall?
I think there's some good ideas on the table, and anything can change at any point in time. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it, but my understanding has been that the kids pretty much plan the graduation. They pick their speaker, it's just a different way of doing business, and so everybody understands that this has been student driven, not just the kids being told what's going to happen. So I can see benefits of both, but for some history, it is that the kids have made a bunch of choices, and they invite people that they want to see on stage.
And I'll speak also to the scheduling. Dr. Newman, is it 3 graduations that they have at Eagle Bank in one day? Or is it
3 or 4?
3 or 4?
We're maybe second this year. We're early. I know we wanted the early one.
But Councilman Smith is right, because we do have to,
There's a time.
we can only go in at a certain time, and there's a lot of setup.
Have to be out clear.
Okay, further discussions?
Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. That moves us to item 3, and CPS discussion. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Luna.
My apologies, I had one last comment. I would know, and I am not asking for speakers or to impose on the kids. I'm not asking anything different than just walking, but I just want to make sure that is clear on the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3.1 under CPS discussion items. Item 1, updates on investments in education.
Yes, tonight we have Dr. Casada presenting to give council and everyone an update on investments that you have made in us, the city has made in schools, and some of our CIP projects and an alternative education update. Dr. Casada.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of City Council, Chair Seibert, Vice Chair Spall, members of the school board, Chief Keen, and Dr. Newman. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. We wanted to provide you some updates on the investments the City Council has made in recent years in education and how those investments are having an impact already. As you know, in recent years, the City Council has provided some additional targeted revenue above the annual transfer. And in addition, we're all very aware that the city approved a bond this year to allow for the construction of the new Jenny Dean Elementary School. So we're going to walk through those various investments and early returns on those investments. And that's going to address some of the other topics that were listed, I feel like. All right, so first, as you're all aware, the city approved a bond that's providing $50 million for the construction of the new Jenny Dean Elementary School. To date, the project remains on time and within budget. The impact of this investment is a new state-of-the-art elementary school that's very excited. We're very excited to open for students in August. Just some updates. Mr. Gefeller, who is here, does updates to the school board every month with lots of photos and updates. But on Tuesday night, he presented the monthly update on the status of the project through September. During the update, he shared that there was significant progress in site work, particularly with the installation of the underground stormwater retention systems, site grading and backfilling progress as planned, and all environmental compliance inspections were completed with no deficiencies. The structure of the building is starting to come along really nicely, and we're on track for enclosure milestones as we get toward winter. Roof joists have been installed at the stair towers in the gym, and roof decking continues across major areas. We want to talk about the collaboration and positive relationships that the contractors had with the Jenny Dean community. Access to the site is safe and controlled, and there have been very minimal disruptions to campus operations. So if you go by, you'll continue to see cranes and lots of things happening, and every day if you go by, something new is happening. All right, next topic in terms of investments you've made are related to compensation. So in the past 3 years, there have been additional investments from the City Council, which has helped us try to keep pace with surrounding jurisdictions. So back in January 2024, the city provided MCPS mid-year an additional $750,000 to support mid-year pay increases for teachers. And then in FY25, then the baseline transfer was increased by $1.5 million to support these increases, as well as allowing us to provide the salary increases and targeted adjustments to our salary scales to increase competitiveness. We did analyses to look at where we were furthest behind and tried to target some of those as well. And then for this current year, the city provided us with additional money, which allowed us to provide a total of 6.7% salary increase for eligible employees. The impact of these salary increases is already being shown. Retention rate data for teachers increased from 81.4% in 23-24 to 86.2% in 24-25. So that's exciting to see, of course. All right. Next topic is the purchase of 8700 Centerville Road, our central office facility. So in July, the City Council approved the use of $10.75 million in fund balance for us to purchase that property. That process is very much underway, with closing set to occur in November, set for November 18th. It was tentatively, when we posted this, that date is set. There are many positive impacts of this purchase. One, it provides a location for the new alternative education pilot program, which I'll discuss on the next slide. There's no cost for us to move to a new location, no need to continue paying rent to lease space, and we will have some increased revenue from rental income, which will help us offset the cost of maintaining the building. Okay. Also in July, and as I mentioned, the City Council approved the use of fund balance to launch an alternative education pilot. This is really exciting. The program administrator for the program started in July 25. Construction is currently underway to convert the space into an instructional one, with completion set by December 1st. The program, which has been named Manassas Pathways, which you can see in the logo on the slide, will be opening for students in January 2026. Hiring is underway for teachers and other support positions to be starting in December, and the anticipated starting enrollment for students is between 30 and 40. The impact of this program is that we're going to have an option for students that provides them with the individualized support needed to keep them on track academically at wherever they are in their career, as well as, of course, focus on getting them toward graduation. Okay. Finally, we wanted to provide you an update on the investment in the Osborne Connector. In FY25, the City Council approved the use of fund balance for this connector project. That construction is also underway, and in fact, it is near finished, with substantial completion set for November 10th. Wow, that got really loud. The impact, it's very exciting though. It's a really exciting thing, right? So the impact of this connector is enhanced safety and security for students, as the entire facility will be connected inside. In addition, there's more usable space along the corridor to include some small offices and flexible space. These were intentionally added to increase functionality and provide space for student services, small meetings, and staff collaboration. And each design element was chosen to maximize the benefit of the addition while maintaining the project's original focus on safety, security, and accessibility. This project has been a model of collaboration from the start between the city and the schools. That partnership between the City Council and School Board demonstrates our shared commitment to creating modern, safe, secure, and efficient learning environments that meet the needs of our students and staff. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to present to you. I meant to say Mr. Gefeller is also here and Mr. Kelly, our Director of Finance. So we'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Racine already has his hand up, so any questions?
That's right. Well, I have nothing else to do tonight, so. Sorry, Mark.
I do.
No, not really. That's right. I gotta mow the grass in time for Halloween night. Yeah. Anyway, could you give us a overall breakdown? I'm not looking for super detail, but some idea of the breakdown of how the $2 million for the alternative school is being spent. I would assume a portion is going to some physical changes, upgrades, whatever, and can you discuss it a little bit further than just saying $2 million?
I'll start and then I will turn it over to Mr. Kelly if I forget anything. So yes, so one piece that's happening, right? So this converting a space in 8700 from like office space to instructional space. So there's construction that needs to happen there, including making sure that it's a space. It needs to be a space for students, right? Which includes kitchen and includes safety. It includes the right type of equipment and supports and all of those things. So that's a big chunk. I don't know offhand, but I don't have offhand the dollar on that one. But in addition, there are it's getting it set up to start being staffed, right? So there's the staffing costs for the administrator and for the support staff for teaching positions and security positions, security equipment, resources, all of those things. Now, this is just getting it started for this year. The staffing costs, right, get worked into future operating budgets, right? But the initial part of the pilot was to get it going in terms of the construction. Taft, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, sure. Just to point out, obviously there's going to be staffing costs because we're hiring teachers, we're not reallocating teachers. And so those costs weren't included in the initial operating budget. So we're already going to use some of that funding to support those folks for FY26. And as Dr. Casada mentioned, we will pull those individuals into our operating budget moving forward. The construction itself wasn't a large portion of the funding, simply because we didn't do a ton of major renovations in the building. It was getting it more set up for a school. And it wasn't anything that was adding a ton of walls or doing things of that nature. And so we were very conscious of the budget, and we wanted to make sure we could carry as much funding moving forward to next year to help support the program moving forward to the second year.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? You have a question?
Yes, Dr. Newman would like to present an invitation to all of you.
Yes.
Surprise!
On November 6th, we are all going to be together for the legislative breakfast. So we called Shockey, who's building the school, to see if they could put a quick tour together for everyone, school board and city council. They will have a representative there at 11 for anyone who wants to tour the new school. It's only two things that rules we have to follow. They do not allow photography inside. They said they can do it themselves and give you a link, but they have to do it on the weekend. And you have to have closed-toed shoes. Did I not say that right?
No, you just needed that comma right there, close.
So you would park in the back near the park area behind the building, and then they will bring you into one of the trailers, because you have to go through a safety, quick lesson, about 2 minutes. It's basically some walk under, and then we'll get the tour to be about 20 minutes. That'll be after at 11.
We have, Ms. Brown would like to make an announcement.
Yes, so I wanted to take a minute since everyone is here today to send a heartfelt thank you to Rise Ministry and the Rise Foundation and Manassas Park Council member Yessi Amaya for their collaboration and connection in making possible the generous donation of 160 trees, which were planted throughout the city of Manassas, including several of our schools. And a special thanks goes out to our very own mayor, Michelle Davis Younger, and Kristen Fox, our Parks Operations and Maintenance Superintendent. She was very swift in her response and her flawless coordination in identifying the planting locations for each one of the trees. It was a major undertaking, but this effort was truly a team success, and there's just a couple of more people that I'd like to thank: Dr. Newman, the Quiros family, Mr. Gefeller, Ms. Ansieri, hopefully I pronounced that right, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Joyce, Mr. Russ, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Fitzwalter, and Mr. Treeworth? Did I say that? Yes. For the dedication and teamwork. So I'm just really excited that we were able to plant 42 trees in our schools, 50 trees in our parks, and 50 trees in public land. So hashtag green influence, pass it on.
And then do we want to talk? Ms. Miles?
I was wondering if you were gonna be able to like post that somewhere, so that way it's public knowledge, or are we just?
Yeah,
about the
I will
trees?
make a post tonight.
Yeah.
You can make a post. We do have the handouts that indicate each location for the trees.
Yeah.
And how many, so we can share, Dr. Newman can
I
share
think
that
that's-
information with everybody.
Thank you. Good.
And then we also wanted to discuss joint meeting dates going into 2026. We don't have to decide tonight, but,
Put it on the radar for-
okay,
Sure. Oh, Ms. Vasquez Luna.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't get the opportunity to speak on the tour. I hope, that is not the only day that is available. And, I will reach out directly if that's okay, but, I really want to tour the school and, I hope there's opportunity for everybody, not only set and given date and time. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll work on trying to get, he's shaking his head, Ms. Vasquez. Mr. Newman, Dr. Newman said, we'll work on getting another date, so that way nobody will be left out, so, thank you. So dates for future meetings, I know we don't wanna hash it out right now, I'm gonna sit and go through the calendar, but we do 2, 3.
The budget, always the budget.
The budget, we do,
Yeah.
This is the winter, fall, winter.
Yeah.
The legislative review.
legislative.
So, around the same time frames, I would imagine. Try to kind of keep it so that way everybody can plan. It'll be around the same time frame, so.
Yeah.
I don't wanna try to nail it down tonight.
No, our organization meeting is when we document it, so
Well, we
anytime
got
before
one,
the
we can
3rd of
start
January.
talking to yes, Mr. Rosino.
My recollection was when we planned the agenda, the one date we did end up changing was that when you presented to council, when the school board presented to council, we had you down for a date. And you folks, I think, were either school recess or you had a BSBA meeting going on
Yeah.
of some sort.
Yeah, that
So I think
second
it
or
would
third
be
week in November sometime.
helpful for you to know what those dates are.
Okay.
Because sooner rather than later is a good, in my
Mrs. Garza, could you
opinion.
send the
Seeing-
BSBA calendar to?
hearing from you about the budget in when we meet, Mondays and Wednesdays to go over, have our budget work sessions sooner rather than later. I think we were looking at beginning of March and it ended up being in February of some sort, or, excuse me, it ended up, we had to in early April, and it ended up being the last week of March, so that sort of thing, so knowing when
Okay.
and then likewise in the fall, I think we moved this meeting around a bit, because again, same thing, VSBA, conferences.
These are work schedules and stuff, so the sooner the better. And I mean, it may just be me, but do we get that presentation that Ms. Casada had, or because I didn't see it in my iPad, and I don't know if it was just me, because I didn't see it.
I'll send it.
Okay, if you can, because I didn't see it, I would like her to.
Vice Chair Spall?
She'll send me the-
Is now a good time to talk about our joint desire to have, one agenda when we have these events?
With all the attachments.
We made, it was all public. What do you mean?
I just mean, so everybody's attachments are all on both.
You have to go to 2 websites, Carmen.
I personally, I liked it on the cities where you had your things that you wanted to discuss and we had our things we wanted.
Right, but I feel like I was looking for her presentation, and I didn't see it,
Okay.
so that's.
Yeah, if one document had all of the
Right.
information.
Both documents.
Only if I went to your site.
Ours does, because we do a link to yours.
So, if you give it to Eric, and he'll put it on the
Okay.
agenda for our joint meeting, so that way everybody has it.
You got it.
Thank you. Because that's some good information that I want
Yeah.
to be able to use, so.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Ms. Vasquez, Luna, you good? Hello?
That's right.
Ms. Vasquez,
So
Luna?
that we need a headlight for she's still on those.
May I have a motion from the school board to adjourn the meeting?
I can hear you, there's a lot of, I don't tell anything on the papers.
Okay, sorry, just checking with you before we adjourn, to see if you have anything else to add to the discussion.
No, that's fine, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Chair, I move that the school board meeting adjourn.
Second. I have a motion from Mrs. Breja, second from Mrs. Stevens, that the school board meeting adjourned. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
We are adjourned.
She needs a headlight, I know for Christmas now, there's a headlight and a new folder. Yeah. That's all we're doing.
Let me down from
I hope he feels it.
My water.
You're the boss of someone else.
It's like child detox. Well, I got an off-campus apartment. As a freshman, they don't really do that, but I got an off-campus program because I hated that, and now it's telling me what building you want for next year and what roommates you want, and go to the lottery, and how you move out, and you want to stay over the summer, you're gonna move into the summer place, and you're gonna move into all the Well, so Columbia University is a European style university. There are colleges underneath. So.
Yeah, we're good.